We will now start our meeting. Today's meeting is a public safety meeting for our district. There have been a rash of crime that has happened, shootings. Two were bodily injury, but luckily no one died. But I understand how unsettling that is in our neighborhoods. And because of that, I want to make sure that we had a follow-up meeting. We'll say about a month ago, I did a PSA with the police chief as well as our city manager, who was with us today. And that PSA was just to give you an update of what was going to happen because of the crime that has happened in your neighborhood. Overall, our district is one of the safest districts in the city of Pasadena to live in. I know that you probably don't feel that way if you were recently lived on a street that one of the shootings happened or something that you heard. But overall, we are doing really great in our police department, including our residents who call in things. So it is extremely important to continue to call in when you see something. At this time, I'm going to give it over to our city manager, who, as you may have seen in the newspaper, has announced his retirement after 37 years.
32 plus.
32. We're just going to round it up to 37. No, despite 32 years with the city of Pasadena, he's worked his way up. And I just want to tell him thank you and give him his roses while he's here with us. He has done some fantastic things and helped myself as well as all of our neighbors have the beautiful Pasadena life that we all are able to value and enjoy. So, city manager.
Well, thank you, Councilmember Kushan. Welcome everybody who's with us today. As the Councilmember indicates, our primary purpose today is to discuss public safety in your neighborhood. I know that it can be very jarring when a violent episode occurs in a neighborhood and your sense of safety is just completely eradicated and you're very fear-stricken, and that's very damaging for our community. What you'll hear today from our representatives from the police department are all the efforts that they've been undertaking to try to find the people responsible for these incidents. Most of the time, people who are involved in these things actually know one another. The likelihood of a person being a victim of complete random crime is actually pretty low. Later this week, the Public Safety Committee, which Councilmember Hampton is a member of, will be discussing additional steps that the city can take through the use of technology. They'll be considering a 3-year pilot program to lease some equipment called Shot Spotter. And this is used by police agencies around the country to identify gunshots and to detect where they're coming from. Because people will hear things and it's often hard to tell exactly where the sound came from, but this is an electronic system that triangulates sound and it relays information to the police department, and it can help with the response. And so that will be discussed this Thursday. Meeting starts at 4 or 4:30. You can check it out if you're interested in that. There has been some controversy around those types of systems. Some people feel that it's a type of surveillance. I can assure you it's not. It doesn't track people's movements. It purely picks up sound and filters through that sound and identifies just purely gunshots and then dispatches that information to our police department. In addition to what you're going to hear from police, you should also know that we have some people who are working within our community to intervene, to disrupt violence. I'm happy to say that we've extended our agreement with these gentlemen. In fact, we're planning to augment the team and carry the work out for approximately the next year or so. I'm hopeful that we can continue to build out their efforts because we want to interdict and prevent violence from occurring in the first place. The police department is by nature somewhat reactive. By having people out in our community, finding out what's going on, finding out, frankly, where the beefs and the squabbles are and diffusing those issues before they become a problem is really the best thing we can do. But in those cases where there is a problem and violence does flare itself, then obviously that's when the police department steps in. So I'm going to stop I know the council member is going to introduce our representatives from the police department. I'm going to stay with you tonight and hopefully answer any questions that you may have. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate you. We have with us our Deputy Police Chief, Cheryl Moody. And I think from here, Cheryl will take the floor and she will introduce all of her her team.
Thank you.
I know, I know a lot of people know Sarah and Javier Aguilera, who's fantastic. He's been everywhere. And how long have you been with the city now, Lieutenant Aguilera?
Total 22 years, 25 total as a police officer.
22 years, and you look like you're only 22 years old, man. You looking good, man.
So he's a newbie.
He's a newbie.
Thank you,
All right, I'm
Council.
so sorry. Go ahead,
Okay.
Go ahead, Chief.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Hampton. Yes, I do have Sarah Presley and Javier Aguilar with me here tonight from our community relations section, and they'll be going over some community outreach efforts. In District 1, we've been putting together here recently, but let me read. I took notes here. I have my notes. Okay. Good evening, City Councilmember Tyron Hampton. Again, I'm Cheryl Moody from the Pasadena Police Department. I'd like to thank the councilman and his field rep, Kushan Bell, for inviting me to the District 1 meeting. So I did some research on District 1 for this meeting. So if I may, I'd like to point out some of the landmarks and institutions. For instance, District 1 is home to the Rose Bowl, the Aquatic Center, Brookside Golf Course, Norton Simon Museum, La Pinnaresca Park, its library and teen center. Other cultural landmarks include the Gamble House, which I didn't know, Pasadena Museum of History, the Kids Space Museum, Reese's Retreat Park, Hahamunga Watershed Park, and the Okubalan Center. District 1 is also home to several public and private schools, to include the highly acclaimed John Muir High School. Residents of District 1 should take pride in being Pasadena's first district. You are for the first district. All right, now let's get down to business. Okay, so now we'll share some citywide stats that I believe will be of interest to you in District 1. Overall crime in Pasadena is down about 8%. Year to date, the police department has received over 157,000 calls to our communication center. Of those, about 41,000 were 911 calls. So you know, not all calls that come into our dispatch center result in a police response. The police department has responded to about 76,000 calls for service to date this year. We responded to just over 10,000 of those calls in August alone. Also of interest, year to date, we've collected or seized 244 firearms citywide. So that's 244 firearms that we've taken off the street that could be potentially a danger to our residents and visitors here in the city. Now to speak a little bit more on the recent crime trends here in District 1. So you all, as most of you know, there were six shooting incidents reported near the 1800 block of Navarro since July 8th. The service area officers have been given the area high visibility patrols both day and night. So we have a violence reduction efforts team that has been providing extra service every night since the first incident in July. So although we've only received 33 calls for service in the area since the July 8th shootings, officers have self-deployed to the area 147 times for extra service, traffic stops, and other measures in an effort to prevent further shootings. Please note that all 6 of the shooting cases are currently under active investigation, so we really can't release any information in relation to the shootings. Let's see here. Also, on another note, I'm pleased to report that all the police-related training for the Community Police Oversight Commission has been completed. and the police department is preparing to work with the commission as they formulate a work plan. It's our goal to build a solid working relationship with the commission to improve public safety in our community. And there was another, there were other residents that were calling regarding some concerns of a resident there on Mentone, the 1900 block of Mentone. And I just wanted to share that we've added that to our VRE, violence reduction list. So we're providing extra service to that location as well. And with that, to keep it short and sweet, I'm going to turn it over to Lieutenant Aguilar, who's going to go over some of the outreach efforts related to the 6 shootings in the area. Javier?
Got it, DC. Can you hear me? I was trying to figure this out. Okay.
Yes.
Good afternoon, good evening. Yeah, the only thing I want to add to what the deputy chief said about our crime mitigation is we basically have broken it down to 3 different phases, including patrol, our specialized units such as our neighborhood action team, and there are enforcement efforts along with the community outreach from community relations. So the only thing I'm going to add about patrol is that we have tripled our both foot beats and just extra patrols in the area, which is huge, a big difference from 21 in June to 70 in September. Our neighborhood action team, which is basically our bicycle team, they increased also our presence there, us in community relations. We formulated plans and getting out there. We did door knocks. We wanted the community and that neighborhood to feel safe. In doing so, we passed out flyers, which were very educational. We talked about the Citizens Service Center, which is basically a service for all the entire city, including that neighborhood. If they wanted picked up, just anything that they would need for that area, they can call that service. We also talked about different types of alerts that we have through the police department if they want to stay up with what's going on, which is through our Nixle service. And we also talked about our neighborhood watch. We don't have currently a neighborhood watch in the area. CSO Preston will talk a little bit more on this, how we can go ahead and get a neighborhood watch. This is something that we want to see in that area. And then lastly, we also gave information on crime stats and crime mapping through crimemapping.com. And if you're interested in any of this information, we can go ahead and provide it to you. But this is the information that we provided all residents. We were trying to do the outreach through education and just getting them more involved, and because we understand that without the community, that we just can't do it by ourselves. So it was to educate, expose them, and just make them aware. The last thing I also want to talk about, I met with somebody from the community through one of our nonprofits, who is willing to give us a space in the area of Lincoln, Montana, and we're possibly going to get a room there in the next few months. This person didn't want to bring it out yet, but it's very exciting. It's going to give us a space for us to meet with people, because she was telling us basically some people are not too excited of police knocking on their doors, so they want something that's neutral. So we're looking forward to that. It's going to be a good space where we can talk about concerns, issues, and not only that, you can meet your police department there and get to know us. So we'll update you as that goes. We'll put it on our social platforms, and we'll put it out there when that's available. And lastly, I know we're on time constraints here. I want CSO Presley is going to go next. She's going to go ahead and just give us an overview of District Number 1, the crime since January, and then any crime trends that she can go ahead and convey. And she's going to go ahead and talk about Crime Stoppers, which is an amazing resource for us. So go ahead, Sarah.
Okay, thank you very much, Lieutenant. Hi, everyone. My name is CSO Sarah Presley, and I'm part of the Community Relations section here at the Pasadena Police Department. There are 2 CSOs assigned to Community Relations, myself as well as CSO Hilda Gerardo. So first, let me bring up on your screen real quick a map I have for you. Okay. 1 second. There we go. Okay, so the stats that I'm going to go over are specifically for District 1. Whenever I'm going over stats, I like to pull up a map to show you the exact area that I am going over. So that is District 1. The stats I'm going to be going over are specifically Part 1 crimes from January until the 15th of this month. And I'm also going to go over some notes from our crime analysis section. So first, there have been no homicides in District 1 year to date. Next, as for rapes, there has been 1 reported. That was in April. And then as for robberies, there have been 7. That breaks down to 2 in January, 2 in February, 1 in March, none in April, 1 in May, none in June, 1 in July, none in August, and none thus far in September. All robberies were above Washington Boulevard. 2 were carjackings, with 1 being marijuana delivery related. Some were street robberies, with some suspects being known to the victims. So next, assault with a deadly weapon. We've had 22 year to date. That breaks down into 1 for January, 2 for February, 1 for March, 2 for April, 3 for May, 1 for June, 3 for July, 7 for August, and 2 thus far in September. Tremont and Navarro area is a hotspot right now, mostly firearm related. Most calls were shots fired related. 3 reports were from residential care facilities, and a few were family related incidents. Okay, so next we have assault. There have been 32 reported year to date. That breaks down into 3 for January, 4 for February, 2 for March, 3 for April, 6 for May, 3 for June, 3 for July, 6 for August, and 2 thus far in September. As for domestic violence assaults, there have been 25 year to date. That breaks down into 4 for January, none for February, 3 for March, 5 for April, 4 for May, 3 for June, 2 for July, 1 for August, 3 thus far into September. Commercial burglaries, we've had 14 reported thus far this year. None for January, 2 for February, 2 for March, 3 for April, 2 for May, 1 for June, 2 for July, 2 for August, and none thus far in September. This has not been a huge problem in District 1. 3 reports were from Doheny Eye Institute and were construction related. 2 were at Rusnick dealerships, and several were liquor store related. As for burglary other, we have 1 report, and that was in March. Residential burglaries, we have 9 year to date, none in January, 1 in February, none in March, 1 in April, 3 in May, 2 in June, none in July, 1 in August, and 1 in thus far in September. So there were arrests on 2 of these. The most recent was a hot prowl on September 12th. The point of entry was an unlocked window. There has not been much of a pattern. There have been a variety of targets and a variety of items stolen. Now, as for vehicle burglaries, we're looking at 40 so far this year. That's 4 for January, 7 for February, 4 for March, 9 for April, 3 for May, 5 for June, 3 for July, 4 for August, and 1 thus far in September. So 4 of these incidents were in the Hahamunga area. 7 were in the Rose Bowl Brookside Golf Course area. Many were what we refer to as smash and grabs, where the suspects smashed the window to grab items that were left visible in the vehicle. And then we have 6 theft reports, 43 theft reports. Sorry, it was number 6 on my list here. That breaks down into 8 for January, 5 for February, 9 for March, 3 for April, 3 for May, 5 for June, 2 for July, 3 for August, and 5 thus far in September. 12 of these reports were catalytic converter thefts. Most common types of vehicles to have catalytic converters stolen is Honda Prius and Toyota Prius and Honda Elements. Most of the time, it happens during overnight hours for cars parked on the street. Also, at the start of the year, we saw quite a few license plate thefts. And now stolen vehicles, 16 for the year so far. That was 4 for January, 4 for February, 2 for March, 2 for April, none for May and June, yay, 2 for July, 1 for August, and 1 in thus far in September. So mostly we're looking at trucks and vans being stolen recently. Chevy vehicles are currently very popular in this area. So now I'm going to bring up a slide for Crime Stoppers. I wanted to give them a quick plug. So the Los Angeles Regional Crime Stoppers is a program. The Los Angeles Regional Crime Stoppers program is a community-based nonprofit organization that offers an anonymous way to report crimes. Through the Crime Stoppers program, you can send a web-based tip, send a tip through the mobile app, or call anonymously, and the information will be sent directly to law enforcement. Only the tip information will be asked, and you don't have to identify yourself. You will be asked to provide as much detail as possible to enable law enforcement to investigate. If your information leads to an arrest, you may be eligible for a reward up to $1,000. Your phone number and computer IP address will not be traced. So to submit a anonymous Crime Stoppers tip, you can go online to the website lacrimestoppers.org, or you can give them a call at 1-800-222-TIPS, or they also have an app that you can download. Thank you very much. Taking that off there. So yeah, we would love to start up some neighborhood watch groups in your area. It would either be myself or my counterpart, CSO Hilda Gerardo, who would do a meeting with you guys. And how it works is we need one person to agree to be the block captain. It is the block captain's responsibility to compile the contact information for everyone in the neighborhood. I usually recommend—
Daddy, I'm done with my homework.
I'm not done with my homework yet. Sorry, distractible. The block captain compiles contact information for everyone in the neighborhood and plans the occasional meeting. You would work with myself or Hilda in scheduling a date. I usually recommend a neighborhood watch group be about a block, because the goal of a neighborhood watch is to create a small, tight-knit community of neighbors who are in good communication with each other and who agree that we're all going to, if we see something, we're going to say something. So if you would like to schedule a neighborhood watch meeting for your neighborhood, you can contact community relations at 626-744-4551. That's 626-744-4551. And we'd be happy to work with you in scheduling a meeting with your neighborhood. Typically at a meeting, we'll go over crime stats that are specific for your neighborhood. We'll go over crime prevention tips. We'll have a Q&A session, and then I always invite the local, the officers who typically service that area to drop by during the meeting as time permits. So I hope to see you guys at some meetings. We are currently doing them in person or through Zoom, either one. So thank you very much.
Sarah, I have a question for you. And this is a question that's always posed to me when I ask my neighbors to start a neighborhood watch. Is that effective?
Absolutely. Yeah, I've seen it very effective. My best example is that there had been a crime trend of a few residential burglaries in a neighborhood. Because of the neighborhood watch, the block captain had put out to the neighborhood that, hey, be aware that this is happening. The suspect is typically parking in the person's driveway while others are inside. Anyway, one day, one neighbor, she looks outside and she sees a car that she doesn't recognize in her neighbor's driveway across the street. There's a person sitting in the driver's seat, and she thinks back to the email that the block captain sent out. She knew that the residents of that house were away at work, so based on that, she called the police, and thank goodness she did, because her neighbor's house was being broken into, and it resulted in an arrest. So it absolutely does work.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for answering that question, because I always have that. The question is always posed to me, does it work? And I said, it works as long as everybody's looking out for one another. So I do think it is really important for any neighbors who are willing and want to start a neighborhood watch to do so, because neighborhood watches could be even more than just the looking for, things that are happening in your neighborhood, but also could be, I got a pothole on my street, and now all of the neighbors are connecting and having conversations and, sending us emails to make sure that we get these things taken care of. So it's bigger than just neighborhood watch. It's actually building community. And I think it's really important for our neighbors to do so if they feel like they would like to. If you don't feel like you're, at that point where you want to build a neighborhood watch and let other people know that you're the neighborhood captain, which I think is an awesome thing to do. My street has a neighborhood captain, which is my neighbor across the street from me. But if that is something that you're not interested in doing, please continue when you see things that are out of place, continue to say things, continue to call our police department, whether it be the non-emergency number or the emergency number when needed. As well as Crime Stoppers is another fantastic way to get information over to our Pasadena Police Department. Sarah, there is also, at least there used to be, another way to anonymously send something to the police department. Can I go on the police department's website and send an email through the contact system? There used to be something for the police, the old there used to be a way to email him without leaving contact information.
Yes, I'm not too familiar with it, but there is a form that you can fill out online, and it will submit information to us, and you do not have to put your contact information down.
Yes,
and that works actually for city council members too. Yes, Chief.
I was just going to say, city councilman, that does still exist. A lot of residents still use it today, and they can address it to whomever they would like to send it to. So for instance, if they know their service area lieutenant, they can send it directly to the service area lieutenant, or like most of them do, they'll send it to me, myself, or the chief.
Okay.
And we will respond.
And our service area lieutenant, who could not be with us today, is Marshall Tagliaretti. And Ms. Bell could, or someone put Ms. Tagliaretti's email address in our.
I'll put it in the chat. In the chat.
Perfect. At this time, we have some questions. Has anyone seen any questions?
Yes, we have several. We have a couple of questions. Let's start. I don't remember which one was first, but we can first start with the one that's in the box, and it said, we had, and it's anonymous, not sure who put this in there. We had been feeling safe walking the dogs around the block and seeing other people walking their dogs. Unfortunately, now I don't see people walking the dogs as much, and I don't feel safe thinking about taking my dogs out. This is where the shootings happened. Since that time, the shootings happened. What would your advice be? Is it safe to get back out there?
I'm going to say that it is safe to get back out there. As you notice, since we've put in the extra patrols, we haven't had any more shootings up there. We're trying to remain vigilant, high visibility. So I don't want any of the residents to feel like they have to stop living because there's a spate of violence that's going on. We're going to do everything we can to make the residents feel safe, to get out there, to be seen. So my answer would be, please don't stop living there. Don't barricade yourself into the house. If you see something, say something. If you want to go outside and you see something suspicious, just call us right then and there and say, hey, there's a suspicious person, car, or whatever it is. But please don't stop living. Don't. This is District 1 is very safe. If you can see from the crime stats, is one this month, one that month, one Resburg. But it's just, when it does happen, it comes in spikes like this, but we're on it immediately. We're on it. So please come out.
Thank you, Chief.
Councilman.
And as your counsel, yes, Lieutenant Aguilar.
Yeah, the only thing I'll add is having people out there, they're less likely to have crimes occur. Criminals are not interested in seeing witnesses out on the street. So the more we take back our neighborhoods, the less they're likely to go out there, commit crimes. They don't want to see people on the street. So the more we have them out there, the less crime. I guarantee you, in my entire experience in law enforcement, that's been the number one resistance besides police presence is just the community being out there.
And I thank you, Lieutenant Aguilar. I was just going to say the same exact thing. When a neighborhood is actively out there, even watering their grass, people tend to not want to do things or not do anything that is, let me take that back, that is inappropriate or breaking the law. Because the more eyes on something, the more witnesses there are, and the less likely someone will want to do something that is not appropriate for your neighborhood. So continue to live your life, continue to water your grass. We are in a drought, but water sparingly. Get out there, get out in your neighborhood, talk to your neighbors, say hello. It's really important. Next question.
Okay, in the Q&A box, there was another one. I think this is addressed to you, Sarah. And it says, is there any issues of safety to be aware of when involved in the neighborhood watch for oneself?
When it comes to a neighborhood watch, we are not asking you to take any enforcement action. We don't want you to put yourself in danger. All a neighborhood watch is a neighborhood that communicates with each other and reports suspicious activity to the Pasadena Police Department. So if you look outside, you see someone climbing over your neighbor's fence, we're not asking you to go confront that person. We're asking you to contact the Pasadena Police Department so our officers can confront that person.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? If anyone has placed any questions in the chat, those questions are not, the best way to put a question is in the Q&A. So
I think there was a question in the chat. I'm sorry.
There was a question in the chat. Everybody see it?
Yeah,
okay.
and I got back to it. It was, here's some context. We're still keeping an eye out for more police patrols in the neighborhood day and evenings. Since one of the recent incidents off of Wyoming and Mentone, we haven't really seen a presence. Can you speak to that?
If you're not seeing if there's not enough visibility on Wyoming and Mentone, we could direct more units in that area because they are particularly on Navarro and surrounding, but we'll make that a point to make sure they get over onto Wyoming and Mentone with more visibility.
I was out on Wyoming and Mentone myself. I think it was Sunday around 3:00, and I did see police presence. There were 2 patrol cars, the SUVs, driving, one on Wyoming and the other one was on Lincoln in Montana. So there is some presence in the neighborhood. At least that was on Sunday. But if you're not seeing them and you live in that neighborhood, then it's important that you let our office know, my office know, as well as the police chief's office know, so that we can make sure that that's resurrected. That we answer that and you see the visibility. I do have to say that I have seen officers knocking on doors and walking our neighborhood, as well as some officers on bikes, and I'm grateful for that. And there is a sense of community where our community members are now having conversations with our police officers, our police officers are having conversations back with them. And so that is extremely important to me as a neighbor. If you see a police officer or even anybody who works for the city on your block, wave and say hello. I always ask them to do the same exact thing, but sometimes, people say, well, no one said hi back to me, but I think we all have to meet people where we can. And if we can get out there and we feel comfortable to say hello to someone working in our neighborhood, we should say hello. Just never know what a person is going through throughout their day. Our police officers are humans just like the rest of us, and could be thinking about tons of other things as well at the same time they're patrolling the neighborhood looking for things. It doesn't mean that they're necessarily not trying to talk to you or anything like that. But I will tell you this: I have encountered plenty of our Pasadena police officers. They have all been professional and have always greeted me with a smile and said hello back after I've said hello to them. I don't think any of them know. Well, a lot of them don't even know who I am. So I don't want anybody to think like, oh, it's because it's you, Tyron. But no, my next door neighbor was just having a conversation with me, telling me about how professional our city employees are. There were tree crews out, and they were appreciative of them being out as well. So it is important. It just is so important and I always feel like I mention this in a lot of our meetings, just to say hello to your neighbor, say hello to city employees, say hello to the teller at the market, because we just, as a people, everything that we've gone through over this past year with the pandemic, et cetera, loss of life, we don't know what people are going through. And so just the common decency of saying hello, especially to someone who maybe didn't have anybody say anything to them that whole entire day, could be a game changer and change the trajectory of their life or whatever they're doing, and as well as yours. So we have, as a community, we have to continue to work together. And I want to tell you all, are there any other questions before I close out the meeting? Any other questions?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, let me go to the other questions then. I was about to close out the meeting. I apologize.
One was, can we expect the increased patrol activity to continue for a while?
Yes.
I was answering for you, but yeah.
Okay.
But I was like, yeah, I was thinking in my head, I was like, okay, I think the chief actually needs to answer that one.
Yeah, at this time, we see no real end date to the extra service we're putting out there. Of course, we have crimes occurring in other parts of the city, but we will continue to have the community service area officers, the officers assigned to that area, continue with the high visibility. For sure.
And as you heard from Lieutenant Aguilar, it looks like he is looking for a location to have a meeting room. And I guess once that location is procured, and you'll let us know so that we know what the hours are and when people can go in and meet and just have conversations about whatever's going on in their neighborhood, or just have a conversation and say hello.
Yeah, that's correct, sir. What we're trying to do in community relations is just have different spaces for different people, because some people are comfortable with the neighborhood watch programs, and some people don't want to be seen out in the street like that. So we want to be able to give them the other space, which is, go to a place where they feel safe and they're able to talk to us and convey whatever concerns they have. So yes, we'll put it out there. I'm hoping, fingers crossed here, that this comes to fruition in a couple months. And then once it does, we'll blast it out. But this is just, a segue into, this is why it's important to have these neighborhood watch programs. And if, some people's concern is, hey, I don't know enough neighbors. How do I get them to get involved? All they need to do is reach out to us. We will help you with that. We will go out there. We will do the door knocks. We will let them know, hey, we can start a neighborhood watch in your neighborhood now. This is your block captain. And then we'll start getting involved with that neighborhood and then listen to those concerns. And again, the important thing about this is you have that one-on-one with police officers. You'll have your service lieutenant show up. You'll have us show up. You're going to have officers show up that day. And then it's just a meet and greet. You're talking about meeting your service police officers, the officers who are there, the officers who respond to your calls, the officers who are driving through your neighborhood. And this is why it's important to have that. It's just overall, it's that meet and greet. You don't have to, it's an uncomfortable situation. Everybody's there for that purpose. So I don't want to go on and on, but it's just, it's something that's very important for us.
No,
Thank you.
I think it's important that you do go on and show that the care, compassion, and how much you love your job. I think that shows in the video. So I think our neighbors see that, and it comes off it's genuine. And I think it is important that you do go on so that they feel comfortable meeting you in those spaces. So thank you. Andrea?
Yes, that was a good answer. And they also have a question. Can you speak to the possibility of speed bumps on Wyoming and Mentone streets? They're saying there's a lot of speeding, so they want to eliminate that also on Mentone and Newport and Wyoming.
Whoever sent that email, if they do send an email address to our office, Ms. Bell and I will get them in contact with the transportation department. That is a transportation request. Actually, our city manager is here. He could actually.
Right. So, Councilmember, let me respond to that briefly. We do have a policy about the implementation of speed humps. Not every street will qualify. It's a function of what type of street it is, if it's a collector street or just a local street. Also, the physical attributes of the street can impact it. It's a petition process. So if most of the people on the street say they do want speed humps and it meets the criteria, then it gets on a list and we can put them in. And then if people want them removed, it also requires a petition process. So it's something that the people on the street have to agree on. But first and foremost, you need to make sure that the street we're talking about is one that is allowable to have speed humps. Some streets, for various reasons, like trying to get a fire truck down, or they're narrow, what have you, it doesn't work. So yes, if someone sends an email, either directly to me or to Ms. Bell, we can send you what the policy is, and it explains all the steps that are necessary to pursue speed humps.
Perfect. Thank you. And that is also another opportunity for you to talk to your neighbors about a neighborhood watch when you are going out asking about petition for a speed bump. Andrea, another question?
Question in the chat. Has there been a discussion of cameras or other surveillance in the hotspot areas of Tremont and Navarro and Howard and Navarro?
I think what the city manager brought up when he first came on about ShotSpotter, there's some technology, if it is approved, that will help in those areas, serve as some type of surveillance type equipment. But other than that, not necessarily looking at cameras or surveillance cameras of that nature. But I think ShotSpotter or different technologies will be put in place coming here soon, hopefully.
But if I can, I'd like to add something, because technology's out there, but people have concerns about the use of technology. We increasingly, with our building security systems in our city parks, have been adding cameras to our building security systems to make sure our parks are safe, or have video evidence that the police can use in investigation. But it would really be good to have people like yourselves who are participating this evening. When the issues come up, we often hear from the ACLU, which is fine, and we want to hear from people, but we also want to hear from people that live in the neighborhoods. There's a lot of pushback on the use of technology, even simple things like automatic license plate readers. There's people who would not want the police department to have that technology, even though you drive into many commercial parking garages and they use that technology. So there are folks, and again, the council member sits on our public safety committee, who don't want the police department to have certain tools that we believe can help them do their job. We do have policies and procedures around the proper use of technology to make sure that it's not abused, to make sure that we're not spying on people, to make sure that there's regular audits and that information is purged. But I would encourage you to be part of those discussions, because oftentimes we only hear from the people who don't want us to have this type of technology. But for those of you that have traveled abroad, if you've gone to Europe and other nations, CCTV is in wide application throughout the world to make people feel safe when they're walking crowded boulevards throughout all kinds of places. So I just mentioned that as food for thought. We welcome your voice in our debate because it's an important one as we figure out what is the right balance for our community between safety and, to some degree, having a big brother or big sister having technology. So thank you.
Thank you, City Manager, for elaborating on that. Yeah, I have requested some technologies, and those we've received a lot of comments that are not, I would say, that are against adding any technology. I think that technology, as we see here, because we're in a pandemic right now, we're having this meeting remotely, all from our homes. Technology in a way has been very beneficial, and technology in a way will be beneficial for us to fight crime as well as prevent crimes from happening. And that's the reason why I have, on the numerous amounts of occasions, which I appreciate the city manager bringing it back up, introduced the idea of bringing ShotSpotter into our neighborhood, because shooting off a weapon is fine at a gun range. It's not fine in a residential neighborhood. And it is important that we start catching the people that are shooting off these weapons, whether it just be in the air or shooting at one another. It is super important we catch those people. And so I want to make sure that our police department and our city has all the tools it possibly can to prevent that from happening, so that you could live in a safe neighborhood, which you already do live in a safe neighborhood. But I understand how frustrating it could be living where someone just shot off or shot at someone. And unfortunately, we haven't caught anybody on that yet, right? Just want to, Chief Moody, have we been able to make any arrests when it comes to those? You're on mute, Chief.
Oh, I'm sorry. What technology?
I was wondering, I was wondering, any of the shots that have been fired in the neighborhood, have we arrested any? Have there been any arrests made?
Yeah, so like I said, we're actively investigating all 6 shootings, and we really can't release any information at this time to the public. But again, we're pretty confident that arrests will be coming, hopefully soon.
Okay, thank you, Chief. So I just want to let just say that, because these things could be taken care of even quicker if we had different technologies that made it easier and more effective for our police officers to get out there and stop these. Which, if we start arresting people that are shooting off weapons in our neighborhoods, that's definitely going to stop it immediately, because no one wants to get arrested. No one wants. I don't think most people want to go to jail. So I just want to say, get out there, get in your neighborhood, say hello. We are going to close out the meeting, but I want to thank everybody for being here. Chief, City Manager, Lieutenant Aguilar, Sarah Presley, thank you so much all for being here. Ms. Bell is our field liaison for the district. Any emails that you have, my email address is actually in the chat, so you can email me directly as well. Priscilla Hernandez, who is also one of our field liaisons. She's a volunteer, as well as my sister Alondria Hampton, who has been volunteering with my office just to make sure that our district can be as great as it possibly can be. Every day is our goal is to be better than we were the day before. So I hope that it's the same for all of my neighbors. Once again, say hello to your neighbors. We have been through a crazy year, but we are bouncing back out of that. And I want to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to represent you at the City Council. And I'm deeply blessed, and I love each and every one of you. Thank you so much for being here. Everybody have a wonderful night and a great week.